So let's say you have this incredible internal innovation that you want to scale. You think it could be a breakthrough, even blitzscaling opportunity. How are you going to tackle it? Well, the answer is to look at successful blitzscalers and learn the lessons of their success. So first of all, what is it that makes a blitzscaling company successful? There's generally a founder, someone who feels ownership over the product and over the company, who is driving its growth. For your internal innovation, who is that founder? Do you have an executive who is full-time focused on driving that innovation to success? And do they have control over the entire product experience so they can innovate and iterate and pivot as necessary to make it successful? Now, one of the things that also happens in these blitzscaling companies is there is financial discipline around how they're able to grow. With a startup, you're raising money from a venture capitalist. You get a certain amount of money and you are tightly focused to make sure you get to that next stage before you run out of money so that you can raise that next round and keep growing. In a larger organization, one of the issues that sometimes arises is there are massive financial commitments that are made up front. That's not what I advise. In fact, I think the better way to scale your internal innovations is to take that same venture model, to put a small amount of money in at first, just enough to get to the next stage, but very clearly understand what it is you're trying to prove. At each stage, you're trying to prove a hypothesis about the market, about the business, and as you unlock those hypotheses and prove them out, then you can put in more commitment and more capital. By doing this, you're able to reduce some of the risk of committing all your capital up front, and you're able to provide that sense of urgency that's going to help the team really blitzscale that opportunity. The final thing that's really important for scaling your internal innovation is to make sure that there is sufficient reward for the people who are taking on these risks. Let's face it, doing something new is hard, and oftentimes the result is failure. Let's face it, if every time an innovation was generated, it succeeded, the world would be a great place, but that's just not the world we live in. So how are you going to convince your best people to jump on these internal innovations if there is a greater than 50% chance of failure? The answer is to make sure that the failure is cushioned, but also that there is upside, whether it's in the form of promotions or even financial upside for succeeding. So if you look at what has made Blitzscaler successful, you can draw some key lessons on how to scale your internal innovations by making sure you have the equivalent of a founder who is motivated, full-time, and has control over the customer experience, by making sure that you are using the kinds of financial instruments that are going to encourage that sense of urgency and allow you to pivot and find your way to success, and finally making sure that that success dramatically accelerates the careers or delivers financial rewards to the people who are taking the risks in doing so. And if you're able to tap into these principles, you'll be able to scale your internal innovations more effectively.